Hello, Angry Spork here with Young Justice, episode 18 of Season 3, Early Warning, which kicks off with Courtney Whitmore reporting on the exploits of the Outsiders, and how we are all outsiders is a trending hashtag. Yeah! Beast Boy and Brion, they take off from their Hollywood place to a mission, and Dr. Jace is gathering Tara, Fred, and Violet for school. They have to teleport back to Happy Harbor, which, even Violet admits isn't that great, but they have friends there. Then I remember it's Harper Row, and I just want to... Anyway, Jace stops Violet, and there's a bit of, expositional dialogue about how Gabrielle Dowd inadvertently caused the deaths of the king and queen of Markovia, and how she's technically a corpse revived by a dying mother box. It gets a little clunky. Shows do that sometimes. Jace wants to talk to her, but not about any of that. She said she ran some tests on a hair follicle from her brush, and it looks like Violet's dying. And she still has to go to high school. This is kind of weird, especially since, she heals herself, but it turns out that when she heals from a wound, that has a deteriorating effect on her overall health. And at the rate she's going, she might only have a few months to live. But, Jace has been consulting a mentor of hers, so in a couple of weeks, maybe they'll have some better news. And she says, well, you could tell your friends and make them worry. That influences Violet to say, yeah, I'll keep a lid on it for now. And yeah, Jace is evil. She's evil. She's evil. That's exactly what an evil person pretending to not be an evil person is gonna do. Do it all the time. We're on the Watchtower, and McGann mentions how some people have gone to attend a funeral. Doesn't specify who right away. Beast Boy's outsiders are en route to Cuba, and Zatanna has kind of a problem with this. Even though, it's too public for the covert team, and both Cuba and the UN didn't want the Justice League interfering, there were little other options. And since Dr. Fate is a no-show, Zatanna decides to teleport there herself, and promises to stay, on the down low, so she, a known leaguer, doesn't cause an international incident. So, Cuba is where we go, where Klarion the Witch Boy is having a discussion with his cat Teakle, and he has this, young woman captive. And it's just weird how it seems like Teakle is kind of coaxing him to remember what exactly he's supposed to do. I know he only showed up a couple times before in this show, but he seemed to be a bit more on the ball on the whole evil warlock shtick. He uses his magic to activate the girl's metagene, which is a bit more clunky dialogue because he explains it as he's doing it. And she, her hair turns white. She has these markings on her skin. She develops gills on her throat. She's basically like an Atlantean that can't survive on land, more or less, at this point. Then he summons an ironing brand and presses it to her forehead, so now he'll have magical control over her, then turns her into a cloud that, floats away and then becomes part of this, multi-eyed, monstrous thing we barely get to see, but the atmosphere is, really creepy. Oh, this is another Halloween episode, isn't it? And just like the last Halloween episode, it's not airing close to Halloween. Gar's team is in the bioship, hovering around the warehouse where Clarion's hiding, and they send out a beetle drone, and Static makes a remark that Kid Flash and Blue Beetle aren't around, and then Garfield reminds them of the funeral, and he's like, oh, right. And he admits he put his foot in his mouth, and he mentions that Mrs. Garrick is the one they're mourning. So the beetle drone they send in gets eaten by the creature, and that's when the local authorities arrive. And since Klarion really doesn't like authority figures, Beast Boy has Geo-Force stall them, and he creates this, lava, this line of lava. The warehouse is on this, kind of like the tail end of an island or something. So, like, from one beach to another beach is not that far, and he just creates this line from, like, across the land so the authorities can't get through. And while the others, Beast Boy, Wonder Girl, and Static, head out to confront Klarion. And, Clarion's all, he's throwing a tantrum because there are no more kids for him to manipulate. And then he finds more meta-kids, but they're trying to, stop him. So he sends the flesh monster after them. And, man, this thing was creepy enough in the shadows. And now it's like this, and then it confronts the outsiders. And you can see, like, faces and hands trying to get out from beneath its flesh. And it's, like, even creepier. Static and Wonder Girl are tasked with trying to, like, keep it at bay without hurting the kids inside, and Beast Boy is going to deal with the Witch Boy. Wonder Girl, Static, they're having a little bit of trouble with the monster. Beast Boy turns into a mouse to lure Tikal away, and then turns into an elephant to smacks him with the trunk. I guess Tikal must be some kind of anchor, because after he gets injured, or she gets injured, Klarion, he kind of fades, and he mentions, like, that, he's losing their hold on the mortal plane. So there's something else going on here. It could just be like the standard thing with Tikal and Klarion, I don't know. After the authorities see the giant monster and try a rocket launcher, Brion, melts it with some lava, and they don't like that. So they open fire on him, but, well, he's got a handy rock shield. Then Zatanna flies on down, and everyone's excited. Oh yeah, Zatanna is like, no, I'm not here, because the League shouldn't be here. And she casts a glamour spell on her that would only make her visible to the outsiders. And incidentally, Klarion, the Lord of Chaos. So while Static and Beast Boy deal with Klarion, she's gonna try and deal with the flesh monster. At first it looks like Beast Boy is, like, just vaporized, like he gets hit with a magic blast, and then there are these two discs that kind of just fall out from where he was. I think they were, like, part of his translation collar or something. He managed to dodge it somehow. He turned into a hornet, starts stinging Klarion repeatedly, and then Klarion just snaps his fingers, and Wonder Girl is turned to mist and empowers the flesh creature, which is weird, because when he did that to the young woman he transformed, he had to, tell this huge spell thing to make it happen. So I guess maybe it was a long spell too, so I guess they either didn't want to tell the spell again, they just wanted some brevity, or they didn't think to just make the spell shorter in the first place. I don't know. Now, it looks pretty intense. Lightning everywhere, monster getting bigger and smashing more stuff. And Zatanna says a spell, and the kids all are free. The flesh monster's gone, they're individual kids again. So it kind of feels like the tension was kind of like cut really quickly. And then she magically removes Clarion's seal from their foreheads with, again, fairly easy. So it's like, okay, I can understand, like, Klarion putting his brand on them was pretty bad, but it's like, we didn't see what it was going to do, so there's still time in the episode, so, but still. And Zatanna's extra frustrated right now, so she casts another spell, summoning a giant energy Ankh, which is the symbol of Dr. Fate. Klarion says, that doesn't belong to you, and I'm thinking, well, she did wear the helmet for a short time in Season 1, so, like, a remnant from then? Or maybe she's, like, breaking some kind of magical rule or something. Or maybe Clarion's just a brat. Who knows? They're transported somewhere, and Zatanna's like, that last spell took a lot out of her, so she's kind of taking a breather. Basically, she's kind of vulnerable to Klarion, who's kind of wondering how he's going to torture her for all this. And then Tikal advises him to look around, and he's like, oh, I'm in the Tower of Fate. If Nabu comes back, I'm in big trouble. So he tries teleporting out, but every time he teleports, he's in some other portion of the tower. And we're back at the warehouse. The Outsiders are seeing to the kids, and Beast Boy realizes, hey, this one's got gills and can't breathe. So he changes into a gorilla, takes her to the nearby water, changes into a dolphin, and summons Ship to submerge. And, Ship opens up a hatch, and Beast Boy kind of pushes her, in dolphin mode, he kind of pushes her into the ship. And just the angle, his nose is right next to her butt. I'm like, hey, watch that nose, buddy. Back at the Hollywood base for the Outsiders, Fred and Tara are coming home without Violet. And Tigress is waiting for them because they were going to train. And Tara, who's been a bit more vocal in this episode, says that Violet blew them off to hang out with her friend Harper Row. And that should be warning sign enough. Tigress is like, oh, well, at least she's socializing, except it's with Harper Row. And then they jump to the beach by Mount Justice. At first I'm thinking, oh, don't tell me she told her, about the superheroing stuff. But no, it's Harper has a gun, she has a bottle of booze, she's firing the gun, and she hands Violet the booze and tells her to give it a try. It's oh, wait, is that a Muslim no-no or something like that? Violet just says she's not Muslim, so she starts guzzling it down. Harper kisses her. And it's okay. And Violet says she has a boyfriend. Harper says she does too. Oh, so Harper's a cheater too. That's fantastic. I mean, on the one hand, I'm thinking if this were a dude instead of Harper, everyone would be on the hypothetical guy's case for advancing on a girl that did not consent. I'm just kind of curious how many people are going to do that with Harper here, because she's well, I never thought Harper Row was a good person to begin with, so this doesn't really bother me that much, except that she is kind of advancing on someone who did not consent and has a boyfriend, and just Violet's not saying no isn't the same thing as consent. So underage drinking, possession of a firearm, and trying to get her inebriated. Yeah, because there's just so much. Boy, it's not stuff I would ever condone someone doing. She's a bad character. Bad character. She's a bad person. So she hands Violet the gun, and there are a couple of bottles several feet away ahead of them, and turns out Violet's a crack shot, one bullet for each of them, and it's all fun and games until, the police arrive. Cop has her gun trained on him, and she tells him to drop the weapon. Cop, oddly enough, kind of looks like Zatanna, but maybe that's just the hair. Violet is hesitating. I don't know why, but Violet is hesitating. Eventually she drops the gun, and then we're back in Cuba, where it turns out one of the kids is the son of one of the soldiers that showed up. Garfield says that, anyone with family in Cuba, they can stay here, but if trafficked from outside Cuba, they can either go home or they can go to the metahuman facility in Taos. And, he clarifies, we're not the Justice League, we're the Outsiders. And, the kids start chanting, we're all outsiders, we're all outsiders. Guess that hashtagging really did the trick. But the Colonel's like, nah, I'm still calling for reinforcements. So the woman whose son was saved says, hey, get out of here while you can. So we got to Tigress sparring with Tara. She starts off pretty well, Tigress charges, she uses her momentum against her, but Tigress, knocks her down with a sweeping kick, and that recalls Tara's training with Deathstroke, and, this gets her really frustrated. Tigress can sense this. She said that she could tell someone had trained Tara for her fight against Holocaust, and the training wasn't exactly kind. And, of course, Tara still keeps it secret that she's an agent for Deathstroke, but, she acknowledges, yeah, it was pretty rough. And Tigress assures her, hey, that's not my style. My dad was like that. He was borderline abusive on good days, but she assures her she's not going to, be vicious about the training. So Megan is retrieving Violet from the Happy Harbor police station. The officer that did the arrest, Bethany, I guess she's familiar with Snapper Carr. I guess they were friends. They knew each other, whatever. Megan asks, what's the deal with Harper Row? Bethany says that, she's going to stay in lockup until her dad comes to get her. They called the house, there was no one there, and apparently Mr. Rowe has frequented the local drunk tank, so they checked there to make sure he wasn't, already amongst them, but he's not, so, Harper's gonna stay locked up. And they pause on Megan for a moment. I'm like, no, don't you dare. This is one stray you don't take in. Don't freaking do it. Don't do it. I know. I just don't like this character. Okay. She seems to be different from her comic iteration. She's still a bad character. She's still a bad person, just for different reasons. I mean, in the comics, it's because everyone's supposed to worship her for doing absolutely nothing, and here it's that she is she's very much a delinquent. I'm stopping myself from saying she's like the worst kind of stereotypical delinquent. The only thing I'm sore about is that Harper Row made another appearance in the show, and she's just such a bad character. Fundamentally speaking, she's a bad person, fundamentally speaking. But I'm getting the feeling that she's going to play a bigger part in the show. Either McGann's going to take her in and try and mold her into an upstanding citizen, so she won't force herself on other people, so she won't force her lips onto other people's lips and get them drunk and fire off guns at random. That's probably the direction they're going to go, and that might not necessarily be a bad thing, but this character's been... Just keep her away from Cassie Kane, okay? Keep her away from Tim. Keep her away from the Bat family entirely. Just anyone who's ever been associated with Batman, just keep Harper Row away, far away, even in season 4. Yes, they said there was going to be a season 4. I was kind of surprised because I thought I heard the 3-season plan. It's like, anyway. Oh, Weissman. So we go to the Taos facility. Wendy is just kind of outside on her phone. Ship lands, and El Dorado steps out. They greet the newcomers, which is basically all the kids that Klarion was holding captive, except for the son of that one soldier. I think it's everyone. If there's another exception, I guess that slipped my mind. And then Beast Boy shows the young woman in the tank that can't breathe air, and Aquaman's like, huh, this facility is not equipped for water breathers. Gonna have to make some other arrangements. There's this brief moment where Brion has noticed that Violet hasn't texted him back, and Static tries to say, maybe her phone's dead or something. Who knows? You can sense some tension already building in their relationship. But then Static puts his foot in his mouth again, mentioning they missed a weird one, but they had a good excuse. And Kid Flash, he's not in costume, but Kid Flash, he just kind of looks at him, gives a smirk, and basically, hey, you're forgiven, hugs him, and so forth. And then there's this weird shot from that to El Dorado, to Wendy, to El Dorado, who then announces he wants to be part of the Outsiders. He was never really into the hero thing, but Brion and Beast Boy, they're famous. Wonder Girl and Kid Flash, their legacies, so is Blue Beetle, and, no one really knows who Static is, so... He pulls his foot out of his mouth and he gets someone else's foot right in the gut. Go, Virgil! So he's like, he thinks it'll be good for, him to be seen with the Outsiders. And Wendy shows them a video of how the Outsiders' exploits in Cuba are trending so much, they're bigger than the Justice League. But it's bigger on social media, so by next week everyone will forget about them, because that's how it works. Then we get the credits outside the Tower of Fate, and you just hear Tickle Meow followed by Klarion saying, dang it, and then teleporting again. It happens a few times. I like this episode just fine. I did notice that some characters just didn't have any dialogue. I don't think Brion talked at all. And it could be saving money, not getting his voice actor or something. Or maybe the voice actor wasn't available. Or maybe they just wrote it so he didn't have any lines. I'm convinced that Jace is evil, intentional or not. One of her most evil acts was influencing Violet to hang out with Harper Row some more. I am anticipating that she's going to become one of the outsiders. She's going to be shown off more often. I don't like that idea, but the only thing that saves is that Greg Weisman knows what he's doing as a storyteller. I've said that before, so there may well be a way where, at least in this show, she can become palatable. You ever hear the phrase, the book was better? Well, that's not true here. Because Harper Row sucks, Harper Row sucks, Harper Row sucks. You know how I feel about the character. It doesn't matter if she's, bisexual or pansexual or whatever. I don't know if that's true in the comics. They never really got into her, romantic interests in the comics, as far as I remember. Definitely not in the Eternal books. But regardless, she wasn't a good person here. She's not a good person here. At least in the show, there's a chance where she might be a better person, as long as she learns she is not this ultimate messiah figure that certain people clearly thought she had to be. There's potential here, and I've seen potential get squandered, but maybe Greg Weisman might make it work. There's probably some people telling Greg Weisman, you have to do this, you can't do that, you should probably work this in, and so on and so forth. Devil's in the details, as I say. So, we can wait and see. I would prefer just Harper not show up for the rest of the series, but I'm thinking that Weisman sees something in her that he can mold into a decent character, and if anyone can do it, I'm sure he can. I'll see you for the next one, folks. Later.